everyone. So today we are going to study biology and its themes. Now what is biology? Biology, first we'll study biology and its themes. Earlier we have studied what life is. Now biology. Biology is the scientific study of life. Biology is scientific study of life. Now if we study life scientifically, we will get a lot of enormous amount of knowledge, and we have to categorize it, or we need to put it in categories like that. So there are 5 unifying themes, right? And those themes we will study in detail later. Now today I will give a small description, right? One is organization, another information. Okay, third one is you can say evolution, then energy and matter, and then interactions. I will explain all these by the example of this beautiful mouse and its friend. You can see this mouse. Normally you have seen mouse that is of darker color, right? Now here you can see. What is the purpose of this light coloration? To protect itself from predators, to hide in the background. You can see these beautiful coastal sand dunes of Florida. So who is this? This is Florida beach mouse, and you can see its mainland counterpart. Inland, this is inland mouse, this is beach mouse. Scientific name of both of them is Paromyscus polionotus, but the subspecies are different. Okay, for example, this is Leucocephalus, and you don't need those names actually, you just need the example. Now with this example, I will explain all these themes. Okay, first I'll tell you evolution. What is the purpose of this color? To hide itself from predators. So let us study the first theme, evolution, and it is the evolution by natural selection for crypsis. So what is crypsis? Hiding fully in the background. To protect itself from the predators. Natural selection for crypsis. It is a type of camouflage, right? A type of camouflage. Camouflage are of different types. We can study them later. Okay, so it has to protect itself fully from predators, and this evolution has not occurred in one generation or two generations. It has occurred over countless generations, over long years ago. Okay. Now, the inland mouse, I think my daughter woke up, just a minute. Okay friends, I came back. Okay, now what is the basis for this natural selection? Where is the information stored? In DNA. So next thing we can study is information. Where is this information stored? In the DNA. So that thing we can study here in the same beach mouse, right? And same inland mouse. You can see the coat colors are totally different. You can see too much brown color here in the inland mouse on the dorsal side, and ventral belly is little white. But opposite is here. In beach mouse, belly is white too much, and the coloration has shifted upwards, and the light and the dark color is little. You can see here on the dorsal side. The purpose is simply to protect itself from predators. The inland mouse, that will be, suppose in the mud, right, on the ground, the color will be dark, so it will hide in its background. And beach mouse, you can see how beautifully it hides in its background. See here, So it will be tough for predators to see this mouse. And the information stored in DNA, here two genes are important. One is agouti gene and another is MC1R gene. Both things we will study in the third thing, that is organization. If I say this organization, any organism that is organized, cellular organization, you know, right? So in the organism, the structure will match the function at each and every step. Each and every level of biological organization. Structure will match with function at each level of biological organization. Now here, if I say organism, you can see its coloration, right? So the structure is like this and the function is camouflage, protecting itself from predators. So the structure is meeting the function. Now in this organism, it will have organ systems, and here this organ system, we are talking, one example I will give, that will be of integumentary system, that involves the skin, right here. So which organ we are talking about? So we will talk about which organ? Skin, which is a part of organ system. Which organ system? Integumentary system, that includes skin, hair, nails, right? Okay, and different glands. Here you can see which organ we are talking, skin, and skin is an organ. So definitely an organ is made up of tissues, and tissues will be of different kinds. Definitely skin will be having adipose tissue, epithelial tissue, nervous tissue, muscular tissue. All these tissues will be there, and tissues are made up of cells. Okay, now if I say at cellular level, we will study a cell, melanocyte. Here itself I will give you the example of evolution. By evolution, during evolution the genes that were having mutation that were selected, so that information, that DNA was preferred during the evolution, right? And two important genes I told you, agouti and MC1R gene, those we will study here. Melanocytes are the cells that surround here the hair follicles of mice, and those cells are responsible for making melanin here, which melanin gives dark color, eumelanin, right? There are two types of melanin, eumelanin and pheomelanin. Here we are concerned about eumelanin, that generally produces dark color. Now what happens, first study normal things. Suppose this is a melanocyte and it has a chair, a receptor, MC1R, melanocortin 1 receptor, melanocortin 1 receptor. This receptor is for a hormone called melanocyte stimulating hormone. Melanocyte stimulating hormone. When this hormone sits on its chair, it will stimulate a cascade of events that will finally lead to the release of eumelanin. Okay. So this eumelanin is responsible for that dark color. What happened during evolution in the beach mouse? In the coding region of this MC1R gene, where is this gene located? Which cell produces this receptor protein MC1R? Where is this gene located? Right here you can see the cells, melanocytes. Inside this there is nucleus. Nucleus has DNA. DNA has genes, and genes have information for the synthesis of different receptors, right? Okay. Now MC1R gene. So what happened during evolution in this MC1R gene? Its coding region there was a mutation at one place. Because of that, in this protein melanocortin 1 receptor, this is a protein, in this there is a change in one amino acid. So if I say what change happened in the coding region of this MC1R gene, at just one place there is a change of just single nucleotide, that instead of arginine there will be cysteine, and this single change lead to a single amino acid change in the MC1R protein at I think position 67. Okay, so you don't need those positions which change. I simply giving example of how mutation occurred, how genetic information with the which favors the survival, right? That will be those organisms which carry such information are favored by natural selection during evolution. Those examples simply I am giving. Okay, so there is change or mutation in the coding region, and that leads to defective MC1R protein. Now this chair is not a good chair. Now this MSH cannot stimulate this cell properly to produce eumelanin. So synthesis of eumelanin is decreased. Second thing, what happened? Agouti gene. Agouti gene produces agouti signaling protein, and that this is produced by first one, ASIP, agouti signaling protein, agouti signaling protein, and this protein is produced by the cells of dermal papilla. See, the skin is an organ having different parts, epidermis, hypodermis, epidermis, dermis, hypodermis. In the dermis there are dermal papilla around the hair bulb, hair follicle end, right? Those things we are not going to study right now. I am simply saying that agouti signaling protein is an extremely important protein. What it do? If I say normally the cell melanocyte, its chair, if it is normal, means this MC1R receptor is normal and MSH sits normally, then it produces eumelanin. After a certain production, now enough is produced, then someone has to come to stop that, stop producing. We don't need too much of this pigment. So there is a natural antagonist, and that antagonist is agouti signaling protein. So the agonist of this MC1R receptor is MSH. This is agonist, natural agonist, and natural antagonist of the MC1R receptor is ASIP. Now in this beach mouse, already this receptor MC1R is defective, and on the top of that, this agouti signaling protein, that is expressed too much because of a mutation in this gene, agouti gene. So what mutation happened? Here the mutation did not happen in coding region. It happened in the enhancer region of this agouti gene. Because of that, too much of mRNA is produced. The mRNA produces normal, the protein ASIP produces normal. MC1R produced, that was not normal, but ASIP produced here is normal, and it is too much. So it is going to sit in this chair, that is MC1R receptor, that is already not effective well, and MSH itself cannot stimulate it, and on the top of that, whatever receptor it is working or effective, on that who is sitting? The antagonist, this agouti signaling protein. So it is going to give the signal inside the cell that stop the production of eumelanin. So the production of eumelanin will be very less. Now all this happened during embryonic development of the mice, and as a result you can see too much white coloration here, very less dark coloration here, opposite to inland mouse, in which the agouti gene and the MC1R gene were normal, right? So you can see that each and every level of organization, the structure will meet the function. For example, I gave the example of this organism and organ skin. Now inside the tissues are there, the cells are there, and inside the cell there are molecules, cell organelles. Or for which cell organelle here? Suppose nucleus. Inside the nucleus there was molecules, and at the molecular level, if I say DNA level, there were changes, and that structure was meant to meet the function, and the function here was to decrease the production of eumelanin. Understood? So structure meets function at each and every level of biological organization. Then we can see the next example, that is, if I say interactions. An organism will interact with its environment, with other organisms. Here you can see the beautiful sea oats. This is sea grass, right? These are sea oats, these are grasses. Here you can see this beach mouse. The mouse will eat these beautiful sea grasses, sea oat seeds, right? Seeds of sea oat the mouse is eating, and it also eats some insects, right? It does not eat only sea oats, it eats other things also. And its predators, for example, this burrowing owl who lives in Florida, and unlike its other friends like the normal owl who are nocturnal, this and live on trees, this owl does not live on tree. This makes burrows. This is a diurnal, means this is active in daytime and it makes burrows. So this is a burrowing owl living in Florida. It lives in Florida burrowing owl. Okay, so this owl will eat the mouse, or it's not just owl who can eat this beach mouse. The hawk can eat the mouse. Here this hawk is eating inland mouse. Hawk also can eat this beach mouse. So these are interactions within the ecosystem. Now here you can see this a hawk eating a mouse. Then the last thing is energy and matter. If I say energy, the flow of energy is always unidirectional from the sun. Whatever energy comes, only 1% of that is absorbed by the plants and used for photosynthesis. And once the energy enters the trophic levels, the food chain, only 10% is passed to the successive trophic level. This is known as 10% law. This was given by Raymond Lindman. Those things we will study later in detail. Okay, so Lindman's law says that only 10% is passed on to the next trophic level, 90% is lost. So where is it lost? To the environment. And how? In the form of heat. Second thing, the organisms do metabolic reactions, right? They will utilize the energy for their different functions. Then what happens? One more thing, suppose an organism dies, right? Or suppose if I say rat, rat is, or mouse, they are eaten by, suppose, hawk, right? So the mouse is eaten by hawk, and rat and mouse are different, so mouse is eaten by hawk. Suppose hawk, if the hawk eats mouse, it will not eat. 1 minute. So what happens? Suppose if I say a hawk or owl eat a mouse, they will eat it whole, but after few hours, 6 to 10 hours, they will regurgitate, right, the undigested things. For example, fur, some bones, suppose they can't digest, so they will regurgitate it. That is known as hawk pellet. Or you can say, if are done by owl pellet. So owls, hawks, if they swallow the organism fully, they will regurgitate the undigested parts, right? Okay, now so that undigested thing, that is also wasted, and that is given for decomposers, right? So the full organism, although it was eaten by the hawk, but its whatever energy was there, out of that also some was thrown out, right? So energy is lost in the form of heat for metabolic reactions and something for waste product, right? So energy flow is unidirectional and the energy cannot be reversed back to the sun. Now if I say matter, matter is cycled through biogeochemical cycles, biogeochemical cycles that we will study in detail later, okay? Bio means living things, so biotic components. Geo will include the abiotic components, the lithosphere, the atmosphere. Lithosphere will include the rock, the soil, right, from where the plants absorb the nutrients, right? And atmosphere from where carbon is absorbed in the form of carbon dioxide, right? So biogeochemical chemicals are cycled. If I say, for example, this oats, right, this has taken the elements from the, it has taken the nutrients from the soil, right here, then it will be eaten by the mouse here. When mouse will die, right, the things will be decomposed, the mouse will be decomposed by decomposers, the nutrients will be given back to the soil and to the atmosphere. And if soil, this mouse is eaten by a hawk or owl and the hawk or owl die, the energy, not energy, the nutrients will be reversed back to the lithosphere and the atmosphere. So these things we can study later in the biogeochemical cycles. So these were the different themes. I think I explained all of them and we studied all of them in the same example. Hope you understood. Thank you very much. Bye bye.